Hello, van fans. Welcome to another episode of VFFs Vanlife podcast. How are you doing? Oh, it feels like ages since I've sat down to record something. Okay, so I'm back in the UK. I drove back. It all went really well, and I will be discussing that today in the podcast. It's just me today, so hopefully you will enjoy my ramblings as I go along. First things first, if you listened to the last episode 8, you'll remember that Catherine was looking for a new van. Well, I seem to be getting these really lovely phone calls and voicemails from people these days, and have a little listen at a message that I received from Catherine.
Hey Kat, guess where I am? I'm in my new van! Woohoo! I can't believe it. I think you must be some kind of lucky charm, because I can't believe how long I was looking, and then a few days after I speak to you for the podcast, I find the perfect van, and I can't believe it. I'm so stoked. It's a 2014 Vauxhall Movano medium wheelbase, extra high top, which is pretty cool, and it's bright blue, which is awesome, and it was completely within my budget. Well, just. So I'm so happy. And I'm basically just dancing around in the back, and there's people looking at me like I'm a crazy person. So they're laughing at me. Okay, I'm gonna stop being super awkward and let you go, but I'm so excited, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
How about that then? Amazing. And if you want to check out her new van, it's on her Instagram, as I mentioned before, which is Van Vistas on Instagram. I'm glad to hear that you guys enjoyed hearing about the amazing news about my mum's camper van. We're still waiting for it to be delivered because of lockdown and everything, but she's really excited about getting that, and I'm really looking forward, as I said, to spending some time with her in her new van. Just to remind you that I am now a social media expert who cannot work out how to share things most of the time, but I'm learning. I'm getting into the spirit of the modern world. So you can find me on Instagram at VFFs_Vanlife_podcast, and you can find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/VFFsVanlifePodcast. And that's a great place to keep up to date with all the incredibly exciting news about future guests and subjects and things like that. And if you'd like to contact me on email, you can email me at vffspodcast@gmail.com. So, I'm back home. I've been home since Saturday. I'm not going to lie, it has been tough. I'm going through that thing that you go through when you go travelling or you go somewhere new, and then you come home and the familiarity is like really amazing for one day, and then you remember all the reasons you left. So yeah, that's really fun. I just need to adjust to being back on Plague Island. As you can hear, I'm in a car park as normal. It's nice to be recording from the van. It's been ages since I've been recording from the van. Right then, so this episode is going to be all about my journey home and what I learned from my 2 journeys and how much I have developed as a driver. So I hope you enjoy it. There's also going to be a bonus feature on this episode, which is a cold water swim in February. So without further ado, here is this week's episode. I have just returned from a round trip to Bulgaria and back again. So this episode is going to be all about what I learned on my 4,000 mile round trip, and hopefully give you guys some tips and some insights of things you can do to make a long journey easier. I did some episodes on my trip first time round, so I'm not going to talk about that so much, but I want to tell you about the route I took on the way back. my journey home was a drive south through Greece, firstly. I left the lovely Sue in Bulgaria. I'd gone to visit her for my last night. And we heard that there was snow on the way, but it hadn't been snowing and I wasn't too worried about that. So I was like, yeah, no worries, I'm just going to set off. So I set off south towards Greece. My drive from Sue's house to where I slept that day, the weather just changed. 1 minute it was sunny and all of a sudden it just started snowing like crazy. I was really like, okay, I'm driving into a snowstorm. Okay, well, let's just keep going because you just got to get out now. You don't want to get snowed in because when I was up visiting the dog shelter, there was one night where my battery died because of the cold. So I was quite worried about that happening again. So I was like, okay, just keep going, don't worry. And it was really tough driving conditions. It was probably the toughest driving conditions I've ever experienced. It was like the visibility was so low. The snow was just absolutely hammering the van, and there were a lot of trucks on the road that were like spraying like dirty icy water onto my windscreen, and I really had to get my head down and concentrate on this drive. But at the same time, I was really fucking calm and collected about it. So I'll go into the changes later on in this episode, but I am really proud at like how I dealt with that. If that had been the first trip, I would have been an absolute mess. So I'm really happy with my progress as a driver. The other thing that I have got really a lot better at is being way more relaxed about where I park and just vibing it, which is another thing I'll talk about later. So anyway, I vibed it and I was like, okay, here, I'm going to park here. So I parked next to like a car dealership because I didn't like totally stand out or anything. And then the snow was still coming down and I was just like, right, you're just going to have to park here and just hope that you can get out in the morning. Funnily enough, even though it was snowing outside, it wasn't that cold inside the vehicle, which was really good. So I woke up in the morning and I looked outside and I just closed the curtain again. I was like, oh my God. Like, it was really heavily snowing. There was probably about at least 10 centimetres of snow all around the van and on the van. It was like really dark, but I got this idea in my head that I needed to get out of where I was and get somewhere that was easy to pull onto the main road just in case I got snowed in. So at 6:30 in the morning in a snowstorm, I thought it would be a really good idea to start driving on the road, even though I couldn't see more than 2 meters in front of my face because of the snow. The other thing I didn't realise was that my windscreen wipers had frozen so much that they didn't work anymore. So when I was driving, I was using the windscreen wipers and they were only clearing like the bottom 20 centimetres or so of the windscreen. So I had to like hunch down and like look through the gap and be like, as soon as I got on the road, I was like, this was a mistake. I need to get off this road right now. I was going at about 15 miles an hour. And there was like a trucks behind me just being like, what is this person doing? So I was like, right, just concentrate, look through the gap, and just as soon as you see somewhere to pull off, because I was heading towards a motorway as well, and I was like, I cannot get on that motorway. So eventually, like about 5 minutes later, I saw a turning, so I just turned into that and I parked there. There were some other cars there, but it was even worse there. There seemed to be like more snow and like more danger of getting stuck there, but that's just my naivety because I think actually you wouldn't get stuck there. I don't know why I thought that. I just had this idea that I was going to get stuck. So stopped there, and I was really, concerned about the weather because I had to get to the Greek border before the 72 hours. So I had to get there within 72 hours of my negative test. And I was like, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm just going to have to put on Destiny's Child. just listen to music and just try and keep my positive mental attitude. So that's what I did. I just listened to Survivor. That song has got me through so much in my life, right? So I was just listening to Destiny's Child and just being like, yeah, come on, you can do this, all right. And I just waited for it to get light. Once it got light, I got back on the road and the weather was a bit better and I could actually see. The other thing I did was de-ice my windscreen wipers. It took ages because there was literally like frozen, there was literally just ice all along it and it just wouldn't come off, and I didn't want to like hack it off because obviously windscreen wipers are quite fragile, so I just like sprayed it with de-icer. So yeah, that was a real crazy experience, that first little drive. And then so I left there and then I got to the Greek border that morning, late morning. I then had to have a nasal swab. The woman that did the nasal swab, she was so aggressive. She was like, breathe and swallow please. I was like, breathe and swallow? I don't know how to do those two things at the same time, but I tried my best, and she just shoved this thing right up into my brain, and she really hurt me. I was like, oh my Christ. And then I got a negative test and that was fine. So then I was in Greece and ready to rock, and I've got to say that was the best driving that I've had the whole trip. Like, it was so nice. Like, the roads were in such good condition and the scenery was amazing. It was all like mountain scenery, and the mountains were snowy, but the weather was gorgeous, blue sky and really sunny and warm, so it was so nice. And it was a lot of driving through tunnels, and whenever I came out of the other side of the tunnel there would be like a new mountain view, so that was just like, oh, it was so nice. It was the highlight of my whole journey home. It was so beautiful. I was just constantly going like, wow, 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 look at that, look at that. It wasn't very expensive either, the tolls there. It was like, there were toll gates, and you had to pay like maybe like €1 or €2 every, I'm not sure how many times I paid it throughout the journey in Greece, but it wasn't that much. It was probably like €20 max. So yeah, Greece was pretty beautiful and very special. So then I got to the ferry port. I took the ferry from Igoumenitsa to Ancona in Italy. That was so funny getting on that ferry. The people, you know, normally when you get on a ferry, there's someone with a high-vis jacket and they're guiding you. They're giving you clear hand signals that say, this way, turn left, blah, 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 whatever. These guys were literally just screaming and shouting and waving their hands around and then looking really pissed off when you didn't understand what to do. And this caused complete chaos. The way they were loading the ferry, they were asking people to do like U-turns and reversing and all this, but they weren't making it clear, and it was just total chaos. Thanks for listening to this preview of VFF's Vanlife podcast. You can listen to the full episode at vffsvanlife.com/podcast. Hope you enjoy it.
I've got to go outside. I've got to go